Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, Happy New Year. This is the first we've recorded in the year. I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Your Health podcast. Good? We got it?
You did it. I think that was a good one this week.
Yeah. This year?
This year. We did the first one was a good year.
First one, nailed it. So what's going on?
Well, this is, as you mentioned, our first podcast of the year. Even though we had a podcast release the first year, we recorded a week before. So this is officially our first podcast of the year. So, I had a good time with family, friends, all that good stuff. Unfortunately, my kids came down with COVID. I think everybody's going through that crazy situation right now. But luckily, Aaron and I did not. I got all my training in. And it was funny. My wife got me gift cards for this massage place to go get sports massages, and the lady's like, "You worked out on Christmas Day and New Year's Day?" I'm like, "Yeah. Who would not work out on Christmas Day and New Year's Day?" She's like, "I took breaks." She lifts as well, and she's like, I take breaks on holidays. I'm like, "Not me, man. I'm not missing my day."
You're not committed enough.
Yeah, you're not committed enough.
You're not committed enough. Get to it.
Open presents in the gym, kids. All right, let's go. No, but how's it going with you, man? How was your holidays?
Yeah, it was actually good. As I sort of said last week, I just sort of took a bit of a chill week, just did what needed to be done in terms of check-ins, caught up with a couple of guys, and just had a pretty chill week. And then it was nice sort of coming back to some level of normality this week, though, routine and just sort of day-to-day, Harper's back to daycare, stuff like that. So yeah, everything's good. I'm feeling good. I'm excited. There seems to be a lot of activity, social media, We Hack Health activity over the past couple of days, which is good to see. So, and the Discord chat seems to be lit. I actually spent probably about 3 hours just going through like all this sort of separate channels that I never would really go in. And there's a lot of stuff in there. One of my goals for this year is, and anybody who's listening who's in it, is I will be more present in most of the channels as much as possible, because I would just go to the general, or if I'm tagged in something. So thanks to everybody who contributes, and I will definitely be contributing more.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the amount of people that have been talking about it, wanting to change, themselves and be healthier for this year. I feel like it's more than just a New Year's resolution. It's more so, I think they really want to take action and kind of reset.
And movement.
It had some movement. We're making ourselves healthy and doing it the right way. And it's been really awesome to see a lot of folks that have already had a lot of success, and folks that are still in progress. Chris's post was absolutely inspiring for where he was to where he is now. He looks incredible. I mean, my gosh, total transformation right there from him. You look at what's going on with Keith and Nigel.
Are you not going to slate him?
I'm not going to make fun of him. No,
he will listen. He will listen to this.
There are certain times where you need to give some sort of level of positivity, and I was going to wait a little bit halfway through the podcast and then rip on him to let you got to build them up a little bit and then put them down.
One thing that I would like to say, and I was going to tweet this, but I didn't know how to get my words in the right order. So the funny thing about the situation that I found myself in with you and with Chris and with everybody and with the sort of wider information security, cybersecurity industry is, to me, you are just Dave and Chris is just Chris. Now, obviously, your role within the industry is massively different than the way that the perspective people have on you. So I think that I want to give credit to you and to Chris as sort of leaders within the industry and people who are trying to make a change in an entire industry and leading from the front, because as you said, as we've said 100 times, the industry itself is a naturally unhealthy one. And I think if we can sort of start to change that and start to change the way of thinking, and, you guys as people who are well respected within the industry doing that and helping other people is a massive thing. So I want to give you credit for that.
No, hey, I'm just glad to be a part of this. What energizes me is seeing folks taking control of their lives, because it's something that I struggled with myself. Like I went through that same road. I went through that whole process of being overweight, being obese, not feeling good, not being healthy, not thinking that I could ever, accomplish what I've accomplished now. And the truth of the matter is, making excuses for myself, saying, hey, I'm big boned, or this is just my genetics, or this is how I am, and not taking control of myself. And that's the biggest thing that I think everybody has to understand, is that if you invest time in this, you break your habits, you will be successful in this journey, regardless of where you're at. And I understand there are, health ailments, physical ailments, genetics that do play roles in things. Obviously, those are all things that you have to understand your body with. But, the only person that you're competing with is yourself, right? And, you need to be happy with yourself. And if you're not happy with yourself, make small incremental changes to be successful with it. And, it's just been awesome to see folks change their lives in a positive way, live longer. What's the greatest gift in life than you're helping somebody live longer so they can be there for their families? Like that is awesome, right? And obviously you get to see it because you're the one that's actually training people and keeping them motivated and helping them out day in and day out and helping them live longer. Just to be a part of that is truly just humbling. And it's just awesome to be part of this community. It's just a great group of folks. I love them all.
Agree. And that sort of leads us, I think we're still on the fence as to what we're actually going to talk about today, but obviously we
have a lot of topics. We have a lot to cover. we can have like 17 podcasts and stuff that we talked about today.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to sort of follow on from last week in terms of the mindset thing and lead into a bit into habits. One thing I would like to say is I was watching some stuff on YouTube. I don't know where these people come from or like what needs to happen to have one of these like super motivational voices to just say words over like inspirational pictures that like make you go, shit, I need to get my fucking life together. So
you gotta get like inspiring sound too. You gotta like rise up as your voice goes.
Somebody needs to do the music and then the images and I'm like, I'm sold. Whatever. This guy playing basketball in the rain, I'm like, I'm going to be in the NBA. That's what it's But yes, anyway, so we want to talk a bit about habits and building habits. Now, I know that you're going to come from the aspect of the Huberman Labs podcast.
Huber.
I guess
Huberman.
From. I don't know. We'll ask him when he's on the podcast when we actually get him on.
That's right.
So first question, how do we actually say your name? No, so you're going to come from that perspective, and I did listen to that podcast earlier on. But I'm going to come from it from a slightly different angle. I think sort of the first thing that I want to say on the habit perspective, it's not necessarily about having the end goal in mind. It's about what that entails and the person that you want to become. So I'll use the example of running a marathon. Okay, if you decide for whatever reason that you want to run a marathon, the goal necessarily is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. So it's what habits do you need to start to put into your life and do on a day-to-day basis to allow you to become a runner, which will allow you to then run a marathon. So it's thinking about the person that you want to become that does those sort of things rather than just thinking with the end goal in mind. So if you think about the start and everything that you need to do, and I guess it sort of touches the same on the visualization stuff that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Whenever you actually visualize each individual part that you need to do, it's in that same sort of scope. So if you think about everything that you need to do to become that sort of person and set yourself up with an actual plan, instead of being like, I want to run a marathon, I'm just going to run every day. Not really a very specific plan. So having sort of things that are in line with, okay, runners run marathons, that's the sort of person I want to become. How do I do that?
Yeah, I think visualization and building yourself out a plan of how to execute on that short term, midterm, and long term is really important. We always like to reference Huberman Labs podcast because it's just phenomenal data on the science behind what we're talking about, right? And the approach of things that can help change things that are going to be more successful than a fad diet or hey, run I don't know, whatever the crazy cardio stuff is. And if you do 5,000 bicep curls a day, you're going to be looking like Arnold in 2 weeks. It's really taking a look at it and saying, we talked about the mindset aspects last week, right? We retouched that. We obviously had a podcast, and it's one of the most important aspects is getting your mind right. But how do you start to get into a habit of making this your lifestyle, right? Just like you've made yourself a habit of not having a healthy lifestyle. It's It's your habit that you created for yourself, and that's how you've programmed your brain. So how do we rewire our brain to live a habit of a healthy lifestyle? And I was going through a social media stream yesterday, and someone had said something to the fact of like, I'm just really impressed and how Dave is just always motivated. I wish I had one fraction of that or whatnot. And he had asked me, he's like, did you start off like that? And the answer to that is absolutely not. I started off small, right? I wasn't running a 5-minute mile. I wasn't, working out 6 days a week. I do that now because I really enjoy it, and I've created it to be a habit. But when I first started, it was the minor changes in my life that made a big difference in the long-term success of that. And two of the most important ones for me, and this is just for me, this doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody else, but two of the most important things that I ever said to myself was a promise. One, I would log all my food always, right? And as long as I'm logging my food, I know that I'm going to be in some sort of, if I'm going to eat like shit, I know I'm going to eat like shit. I'm going to feel like I eat like shit, and I'm going to know it, right? And so I have those confines of saying, okay, I'm going to log every single day. I'm 400 plus days now, logging straight. I haven't missed one day, even when I was doing those.
What a 2022 flex. How many days MyFitnessPal you logged in for?
yeah, right. And that's a challenge. I mean, challenge yourself to do it. Even when I was doing the fasting for 24 hours, we used to do this kind of program where we would, just to try to see how our bodies would react to it. We would try 24 hour. Well, Ben does it every so often, but from a digestive perspective, to let your digestive tract, kind of take a break, we would do a 24-hour fast. And I hated them, by the way. Those things suck ass. Not one of those things I like doing. But I'd still log that day. I'm adding water. I'll just fucking add water because that's all I have today. And, I'm going to be miserable, but I'm still logging in here. I'm not going to not log, okay? Because I'm not missing a day. So, I will always log my food. That's number one. That was a small step. And that is a small step. Like, it's 30 seconds to add what you're putting into your mouth, right? If you can't take time to add into an app that takes 30 seconds, then you're not going to be committed to this at all. The second one is I don't give myself an option to not go to workout. It is a hard, you have to go. Like, my body doesn't have an option. My mind doesn't have an option. I'm going. Now, today's a great example. I texted Ben and I said, man, my total performance was shit today. And he's like, why is that? I was like, well, I was up drinking a whole bunch last night when I was playing video games, and I definitely drank way too much on accident. It was definitely an accident. It crept up on me. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can get upstairs. And so I woke up this morning feeling like total garbage. I stayed up late. I didn't get my sleep. I wasn't following my normal ritual, which is fine. Like, if you want it, it's your decision to go and do that. But I'm not missing training. I'm not going to do it. So I got up. I felt like total crap. I did not want to go. I'm complaining as I'm in the car. I'm complaining as I get to the treadmill. But I was still there, and I still completed it. And I have a sweat rule. This is a rule I created up. I'm just like, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to break a sweat. And once I break a sweat, if I still don't want to do it, then I can go home. And that's the rule, right? And guess what? There's not been one time where I've ever gone home, because I'm not going to leave now. People are going to be like, this guy's like bitching out right now. He's like, he can't handle this workout. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So it's the little tiny things that you frame your mind in that start to create habits. And I'll, before I get into the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of what Huberman was talking about, of how you change your habits, there's ways of changing our habits, short-term, like 24-hour period habits to start to create, and then longer term that take a little bit longer to create. I think he said 21 days is kind of the science behind this to create a full-fledged habit. So, but we'll get into that in a second. I'll pause it back to you on your habits. Like, for me, small habits start to create big results in the long run.
I think two things that I want to say that might be a bit cryptic. Number one, the small things are the big things. So the small changes over time lead to the big results. It may not seem at the time that, they're doing much or having much impact, but 6 months down the line, a year down the line, when you look back at this one thing or two things you have done consistently over time, how much compounding interest that has over time. And obviously I've shared the James Clear thing on Twitter,
Atomic Habits.
which is probably the most retweeted or most interactive tweet that I've ever had. And it's, if you get 1% better every day, by the end of the year, it's like 37.78% better just through compounding interest and showing up every single day. The other thing that I would say is, small habit changes won't change your life, but small habit changes will change your life. And what I mean by that is they're not going to change your life right away. It's not going to be something that's totally drastic and totally massively overhauling your entire life, but continuously getting better over and over again is going to allow you to change your life on a much bigger scale. And I think doing it on a smaller scale like that is much more manageable. It's less sort of invasive to your day-to-day life. It's easier to sort of change small things. And as I sort of said at the start, like it needs to be in line with the person that you want to become. And if you have that thought, like you said, you don't want to become the person who doesn't work out. You are the person that shows up no matter what. Even if you've got a hangover, even if there's a fucking storm outside, even if you've got fucking COVID, whatever the fuck's going on, you're the person who shows up and does the workout no matter what's going on. So that's the type of person that you are. So having that sort of mindset to be that person with those habits is key, I think. For me, the two things are morning routine. Without my morning routine, I'm a fucking shambles. Like if I don't get up and do my morning routine, I may as well just write the whole then go off to bed. Like it's just so, it sets me up for the day. And it actually came from, I can't remember the name of the book, but basically in the book it talks about, it might be The Power of Habit. It talks about Michael Phelps, obviously one of the most, or if not the most decorated Olympian of all time. And he talks about how he sets himself up every single day by having wins along the way. So whether it's make your bed, have your breakfast, everything that he does as a box to tick from his daily routine is a win for him. So it means that if something goes wrong along the line, he still won. He still won that many times. That one thing that's gone wrong won't affect. And the story that it tells in the book is it was coming up the race there, or it's coming up the race there, or whatever it was. And everything was ran as normal. He did his routine, he did his warm-up routine, he did his stretching, whatever he did. And it came to the race. And as soon as he hit the water, his goggles filled with water, so he couldn't see. But he had done it that many times. He knew exactly how many strokes he needed to get to the end and how many he needed to get to the back. And he ended up breaking the world record that because it was just so ingrained in him, because it was a habit, and it didn't affect him that he couldn't see because he knew exactly what he was doing. So having that like win, if one thing throws you off, and I actually had this conversation with Heath last week. If you say you have 150 wins across the day for whatever they are and one loss, you're not going to let that loss control your day. Everything else has been a win. So that sort of, having that sort of mindset or that relationship with habits and the things that you do will put you sort of in that place of becoming better.
One thing I'd like to see too was over the holiday timeframes, which is one of the most challenging times, for a lot of folks and eating specifically, right? And obviously eating is going to be our problem, right? For everybody, for the most part. We're either not eating enough or we're eating too much, right? And that's where our bodies come from. And obviously not doing the habits that allow us to eat less or enjoy what we want to eat, but do it within the confines of some reasonable calories. And what was awesome to see with the fam chat was that, everybody there felt comfortable eating within confines, and some ate more than less. They were right back on it again the next day, right? And it's if you're gonna fall off of your habit, just get back onto that habit, right? The problem that you run into is like, well, it's just gonna be one day or I'm not gonna work out. Okay, well, it's gonna be 2 days. Never let 2 days go by missing a training, right? That is becoming your new habit. So you have to break the cycle of going back to your original bad habits and enforcing the good habits that you're doing as you're going along. And I'm not saying that's easy to do. Huberman explains there's a part of our brain that allows us to kind of coast, and it gives you resistance when you want to go to do things that are like the gym, for example, or other areas. Our brains actually fight us a bit on that. But you have to overcome that and start to build those new habits and tell yourself, no, like I don't want to go, but I have to do it. I'm gonna go and do it. Just like you brush your teeth, just like you get up and you take a shower, hopefully. I know at DEF CON sometimes that isn't always the case for most folks using deodorant and showering. But, we have to do these types of things because it's a daily ritual that we do. Working out, ritual that we do. Eating and tracking calories, habit that we do. So these are habits that we instill in ourselves that give us the success of these short and long-term goals of what we want to accomplish. And so the way Huberman breaks it down is that he breaks down into 3 phases of the day: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Now, it's not really important to follow this specific one. If you want to listen to his whole podcast, go for it. But what's important to note is that for setting habits, especially things that are going to be more physical in nature, getting your workouts done in the morning is more desirable to establish those habits. So if you can get a workout done in the morning, early AM, what he considers, I think, the 0 to 9 hours of when you wake, that's the most important time to start to set those habits that you want to accomplish from a healthy lifestyle perspective. Whether that's, not eating until 11 or 10, 11 o'clock, and that's a habit you're starting, or you're going to get a workout in, or you're going to get your walk in. That's really important. Sunlight is also important from a dopamine production perspective. So getting some natural sunlight, or using one of these little bright lights that light up here. I have one of them right here that's not turning on, but there it is.
Like last week when you have a book, but this isn't a book, this is a cable. Okay.
So it's breaking things down into different parts of the day, and then the phase 2 is when you start to kind of wind down, and start to get more to the relaxing states that get you prepared for bed. And then the phase 3 is the bedtime. So, creating habits that are cyclical in fact, that are done at the same time, and that they also are roughly around the same time. And they also establish those habits to go and do. And he also said, it can also help to visualize, you working out and the after effects of it, how you feel afterwards. I know I feel great after I'm not working. I'm like, I accomplished this. I did this. Even if I didn't want to, I was still there and I did it. He said, going through that in your mind of what the actual workout entails, and then the after effects of that also helps build those brain pathways to allow you to start to establish those habits more pleasantful for you as you're going through and doing them. So, consider getting yourself into a regular regimen. Don't be YOLO all the time. If you're going to work out twice a week for resistance training, and it's every Monday and Wednesday, do it every Monday and Wednesday. Do not miss a Monday or Wednesday. Don't push it off till Thursday. This is actually one of the tough things that my wife struggled with at first, with this whole program, is because, we'd have busy days, and I'm like, hey, I have to go get my lift in. She's like, it's just one day. Don't worry about it. You can just go tomorrow. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
No, you don't get it. You don't get it.
You don't get it. Like, no, I have to get my lift in today. Like if it's going to be at midnight, I'm getting my lift in today at midnight. That's going to happen. I hate lifting at night, but there's nights that I have to do it because I just have so much shit going on throughout the day. So, I do not miss a training. I don't, unless I'm hurt. That's the only time that I'll miss it.
And then even then, you still don't really miss it.
That's true. I just tell you that I'm not doing it. I'm really doing it. So,
Cardboard Ben has camera eyes. I see what's going on. What I would like to say about that Hugh Women's Labs podcast is, number one, he talked a lot about the benefits of cardiovascular training, and we all know how I feel about that. So much so, and he sold it to me, and I don't obviously he's not in any way affiliated with sold it. I came back, I was out on a walk whenever I was voicing it, I listened to it, and I ordered a Concept 2 bike because I feel like I need to do more cardio in the morning.
Look at this! I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you, man. This is great.
Yeah, great. I can't wait. But what I'm trying to say is, having that. So my goal with that is I'm going to do 20 minutes every morning, and that, I'm going to do it every single morning, and that will be my new habit. One thing that you mentioned there was about enjoying it, and he refers to those as linchpin habits. So he talks about, if you have a habit that you enjoy doing, you can build other habits off the back of that. So the easiest example for that is you saying that you enjoy training. So that makes it easier to drink all your fucking water, do all your steps, track all your food, eat well. It makes all those things easier because they're in line with that habit and still, again, like I said, the person that you want to become. Something again that you mentioned about doing it in the morning. This is something that I have sort of noticed over my entire time coaching, is people who, you're one or the other type of person. You either like training in the morning or you like training in the evening. That you're not, there's no in the middle. It's one or the other. I do not like training in the morning. I'm obviously fortunate enough that I don't have to do it and I can sort of play with my own schedule. But people who have to train in the morning because of work commitments and whatever else, if they do not get that session in the morning, there's no way they're getting in the rest of the day. If you are a morning person and you have that's the only time that you have to get the session in, what happens is work happens, family life happens, stress, everything comes up, excuses all day long. It gets to the evening and you're like, no, fuck that. So if you're the person that can only train in the morning, do not miss that morning session. Don't hit the snooze button, get up and get the session done, because that is the only time that you're going to do it. And that is one thing that I have recognized. People are like, oh, maybe I'll start training in the afternoon. I'm like, it won't happen. Like, try it for a week, and they're like, oh, I didn't get my sessions in. I'm like, right, okay, back to the morning then. So if that's your time and that's whenever you feel best and that's your, as you said, your habit, your routine, then that's it. One thing that I was sort of listening to just before actually we come on here, it was about thinking about it in a different way. So similar to what I was talking about with the running, say, for example, the goal is weight loss. The reason that you're overweight is because you don't have good eating habits. Say another one is financial freedom. The reason that you don't have financial freedom is because you don't have good financial habits. So if you can start to nail those habits and get better at those, then you become that person at the end of it. So it's not necessarily that you need to lose weight. You need to have better eating habits, and once you nail that, then you get the weight loss as a byproduct. The same with the financial freedom one. You know, if you get better at managing your money, then by the end of it, you're more financially free. So it's about thinking about it almost in the other direction, perspective again on everything.
Yeah, trying to find what can support those habits in a positive light, right? And then everything else kind of falls in line with it. That's very much how I built, you know, what I do. I enjoy lifting. I really do. And now I hate lifting at night. I just, you know, for me, nighttime is starting to unwind. You know, I have a lot going on with like coaching kids and basketball and baseball and softball and soccer and whatever else. And so, you know, for me, like, I just want to relax. You know, I want to hit the hot tub, hit the sauna, go and chill and start to unwind for the day to get ready for the next day to train. And so if I miss either the morning or afternoon, so like days that I have cardio, so I have cardio Monday, Wednesday, Friday for Orange Theory for high intensity interval training. I do my cardio in the morning with my wife, and then in the afternoon, usually either at lunch or a little bit afterwards, I'll take a lunch break and I'll get my lift in, and I enjoy that routine, right? You know, it gives me enough time to be able to recover from the cardio, get enough food in to replenish, let my body digest it, and then from there I'm hitting the ground running. You know, from that, like right after our podcast here at 1, I haven't eaten any lunch, but I had a really good breakfast. To recover from that, I'll go hit the gym, work out hard, and then I'll eat my lunch, you know, a little bit later, probably like around 3:30, and then, you know, eat my dinner just a little bit later, like around 7. Try to stop eating around 8. So, you know, it all kind of works itself out for my schedule, and it fits with me. But all of those habits are things that I've developed based on my schedule, based on what I prefer to do, and focusing on what I really enjoy doing, which is the lifting aspects of things. Except yesterday lifting those plates downstairs, I almost died. But for those that don't know, I've been increasing weight, which is great, right? You know, you're increasing the weights, but which also means I'm running out of plates. So especially for my legs are strong. You know, but you know, so I'm running out of weights on leg press and on the squat machine, and it sucks having to remove like 700 pounds, 800 pounds, 900 pounds off of the leg press machine to move over to the squat machine. So it's like taking up my entire gym time because I'm literally fucking moving plates all the time, you know. So I bought these 100-pound, 50 kg plates that came on a pallet, and they're heavy. They are really, really heavy. And I ordered 6 of them, and they come in these double wrap boxes, and it's like 20 degrees outside. I'm in shorts. I'm freezing. My hands are numb. I'm trying to cut these things, and they weigh, you know, a bazillion pounds, and I have to carry them all the way downstairs, and then I have to load them up. I you know, I'd already done back that day, and I had to lift those 6 100-pound plates. I literally was done for the rest of the day. And then I took my tree down, and I had to chop it with a chainsaw, which was actually fun. But you know, like literally I was spent yesterday. But those are the habits that, you know, from a routine perspective that I follow to a T if I can. And if I miss it, again, if I miss that window, I will still get it in. I do not allow myself to not get a training day in.
That story about the plates, honestly, I mean, it was your own fault.
It was definitely my
last week.
fault.
He was like, I ordered 4, and I'm like looking at the picture, being like, there's definitely 6 in that picture.
There's 6
but
there.
anyway,
There's 6 there.
So you got them downstairs anyway. Were you able to get them on the machine? Because I was thinking like that's a heavy weight to lift, like
it
this
was
to put on the machine.
So the last plate. So my rationale should have been do the higher ones first because my muscles would be more refreshed then. But I did the lower ones first. By the time I got to the third and fourth plate, it was hit or miss. It was touch or go whether or not it was actually going to make it up on there. And I'm like, you know, and I finally got it up there. I was swearing. There's a lot of swear words coming out. I was like, "You can effing do it, Dave. Let's go. Come on." You know, I'm like, "I'm not gonna make it," but I got them up there. So. And then I built the new Rogue bench that I got because my tonal bench was falling apart. So I had to build all those yesterday too. Which, you know, anything Rogue is quality, but a royal pain in the ass to put together. I still have nightmares at night that I'm still building out Rogue gear.
I said this the other day. Anytime anybody asks me how long I think it's going to take, so Dominic, the guy that always comments, the one person that always comments on our YouTube. Number one, thanks for being a supporter.
Yeah.
But number two, he sent me photo all these boxes being like, I think I'll be able to get this done today. And I was like, no, 3 days minimum. There's no way you'll get all that shit done today. Obviously, I have no experience in it. I'm just going by what you were saying. But yeah, well, I think the best thing that you can do in that situation is just don't order any more equipment, and then you'll not need to build anything.
That's not happening. That's not happening. I'm already on that. What do you think I've been doing? I've been shopping Rogue's website this entire time I'm on the podcast. So
you're going to order a Concept 2 bike because I ordered one?
I ordered 2 just in case. I'm gonna do 10 on one and 10 on the other.
You can't sit on 2 bikes at once. Anyway, right. So back to habits. So I have no idea where we are now in terms of habits. So we got to the point where we understand what we're trying to do, how we're going to do it, small changes over time. The next part of Who Moons Lab podcast. Well, I guess actually the one thing, from a habits perspective, number one, if you haven't read Atomic Habits, please do, because it will literally change your life. Genuinely, like one of the best books that has literally influenced my life. And actually a good point to note on that, I was listening to something earlier on. I'm pretty sure it was James Clear. It was that motivational thing that I was talking about with the background. There's a guy doing pistol squats on top of a roof, and I'm like, I'm trying to get on the roof here. But anyway, so what he was saying is, it's about creating, number one, making them sexy, so making it easy to do. So, for example, if I want to read more, make it easy for me to read. If I want to learn a guitar, put a guitar in the middle of the room that I have to step around it so it's there. So don't make it difficult. And having that so it's like right in front of you. We talked about the linchpin habits, so things that you enjoy doing, you can build habits off the back of. The other thing that he mentioned that I thought was interesting perspective was we are building habits all the time. Subconsciously, we are building habits all the time, and we're more in control of that than we think. So whether we're building a good habit or a bad habit, everything that we do on a daily basis, every interaction that we have, everything that we do will eventually become a habit if we do it over and over again in repetition. So we're more in control of those things than we actually think we are. So if we catch ourselves on with that, whether it's a good habit or a bad habit, then we'll know what way we're going with it and how to sort of change it, or how to, and I think the same sort of thing, if it is a bad habit, it's the opposite of make it sexy, like make it difficult. Do you know what I mean? If it is, if I don't want to eat chocolate, then, well, number one, don't have it in the house, but put it far away so it's not always in front of your face, like things like that to make it difficult for you to do the bad habits.
Yeah, it's for me, like one of my bad habits was wheat thins. Like I just pound those wheat thins. I stopped buying them. I haven't had wheat thins in the house for like a week and a half, so I'm taking that habit away from me. And my habit is I'll eat some crackers or something like that late at night. While I'm playing video games. It's just been a habit of mine for years and years and years. So I'm breaking that habit. So it's been good. If I don't have them in the house, I don't have them, and then. You start looking at other things. You're like, well, if I'm really hungry, I can have some beef jerky or something like that. That's great, instead of going for those chips or crackers or whatever. So, it's those little changes and moving things away from you that are the bad habits. And what I found interesting on one of the podcasts that Heuermann had a couple podcasts ago, he talked about our brain's ability to learn. And there's a part of our brain, and the parts of the brain the names are escaping me. But it's basically the brain that kind of has neural pathways into our entire brain. Like there's certain functions that our brains have that, they're kind of segmented and closed off. They have certain types of functions that they handle. And this one part of the brain basically can listen to all the data coming in from our brains and then, basically train our brain in a way that allows us to get better at things. So for example, sports. First time you probably try to hit a baseball, you probably missed, right? You're not great at baseball unless you practice. Same thing for basketball. These NBA players practice all day long, and that's how they get better, because they practice all day long. That's your brain actually improving your skill, saying, oh, I missed that shot. I need to recalculate next time in order to hit that objective. And that's why you talk about like lifting, for example, you talk about the muscle-mind connection, the mind-muscle connection that happens when you start to lift and train over time. It's like learning a new sport. You start to, come down on a bench press and you squeeze your chest. You're getting that contraction as things are going in. You're getting that strain on your chest. And so, it's learning those things over time and improving on them over time, right? And that's very similar to what we're doing here with the habits. We're starting off small. We're hitting that baseball for the first time, and it's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult to hit that baseball because we've never done it before. But you start to do it again and again and again, and you have a trainer. And I'm not saying Ben is a trainer, but a trainer is knowledge and data of how to do this successfully, and creating these small habits that continuously move you forward in that habit to create that new habit, and then from there supporting that habit with other things, right? If you're into baseball, hey, going and getting a coach, or going to baseball and going to a batting cage to get more pitches in so you can do a hit, or learning how to slide for the first time to improve your game. These are things that we do to support, what we want to accomplish from a specific task that we enjoy doing. Now, you may say, hey, I don't enjoy working out. Very, very fair. But you can still establish that habit and look at it in a positive way. And the way that I look at it is, who I am today is not who I am tomorrow. And, I want to be, at a certain point, larger, have muscles, things like that, more muscle. I want to keep building more muscle. That's my goal, right? So who I am today, I'm happy with who I am today, but I want to be somebody better tomorrow. And so that vision of the positivity that I've had with the success here, and the win that I've had success with all the habits that I've built now, I only want to amplify that now, right? So I look at working out in a positive manner. Even though today I really didn't want to go, I'm still happy that I did it. It was like you mentioned before, I checked that box. It was a win for me today. I did not fail in my habit. Now, if I would have failed, by the way, I would have made sure, hot damn, even though I don't work out on don't do cardio on Tuesdays, I would have got my ass there Tuesday, because I don't miss days, right? So, it's having that dedication and commitment to your habits to allow that to be successful with what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think one point that I wanted to touch on just was sort of going back to what you were saying about wheat thins. A lot of the sort of stuff I've been reading up about on habits is about the sort of cue and the trigger and the reward. So obviously, the cue for you on that is maybe playing video games, and the routine is that you go and get the wheat thins, yes, and you get it in a bang, and you go, and that's your reward. And you're talking about the dopamine hit. So yep, there's actually a lot of science behind it's not necessarily the snack, for example, the wheat thins that gives you the dopamine hit. It's the being in the routine,
anticipation of getting
trigger.
It.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can then, as you said, swap that for something else like beef jerky, you're still in that same sort of loop and that pattern, and it'll still give you the same or similar satisfaction. But it's just being aware of what your triggers are, and you can't have the trigger without the cue. So if the cue is going to play video games, you know right away that your body's moving towards to get the wheat thins, and you know that that's your routine and that's your habit. So being able to break those is probably the hardest thing. Flip side of that is, for a good habit, then you set the same thing up. You know what I mean? You set the triggers of the positive, whether it's training, then we're talking about eating well and whatever else. So if you break down how habits actually work, it's much easier to then hack them.
Yeah, and remember that these habits take time to create, right? It's not going to happen in a day. But if you do one day, it should start to become a habit, hopefully within 20 to 30 days, right? That's where your body's adjusted to that habit. It's building on that habit, and it's a focus of yours, right? That's why I get people have mentioned to me several times, like, hey, man, when you go in, you go all in, right? Like whether it's, whiskey and bourbon, or whether it's business or life or whatever. Like coaching my son's basketball. I'll tell you a prime example of how my mind works and how I switch. So I've never coached my basketball for my kids. I know a lot about basketball, but I've never coached. And primarily that was due to my travel schedule, speaking, things like that. Obviously, COVID changed a lot of that. I'm already very busy with my workout routines, my health, my family, everything else. And I got asked to coach this year for my son's basically final year in basketball for sixth grade, because seventh grade you go into high school or sports coaches that are in the school. And so, I sat there and thought about it, and I said, listen, time commitment wise, I need to go all in on this to give the boys, the attention that they need so that they can be successful in this. So if I'm committing to this, I'm committing all my time to this, so that they can be successful in their journey. And I need a lot. I have to learn a lot. I have to, surround myself with people that are coaches as well, so I can learn, things to do. And, and I committed myself to that. Right. And I said, yes, I will I'll be a coach. And guess what? This year has been phenomenal. The kids are doing great. We have a great record. We're competing against, great teams, and we're having a lot of fun with it. And it's because, obviously it's because of the boys and the work that they put in and the continual iterations that we do. Like just the other day in basketball, there's this thing called a press breaker and a press. Okay. So a press is, you basically have a bunch of kids that basically try to knock the ball out and create pressure, press short for pressure, and get the kids flustered so they have turnovers, especially when they're inbounding the ball, usually from a shot or something like that happen or a foul. And so press is like one of the hardest things for young kids to deal with because you're getting a lot of pressure. You have two kids on you, they're trapping you, they're smacking the ball away from you, you're getting flustered, you have to figure out what to do, right? And so, the first, and I knew this is an issue going into the season, and I literally drilled through these kids. They hated it, but I drilled these kids press breaker, press breaker, press breaker, press breaker, and it was just, the first time they did it, it was clunky, it was horrible, it looked like shit, and not because of the kids, it's just they haven't done it before, they're learning something new. And so we kept going through iteration after iteration after iteration after iteration, and it was just second nature to them. They knew where to throw the ball. They knew where the person was going to be. They knew where they had to move to, and it finally became a habit for them, right? That solidified a specific thing for them that they can do. And guess what? As soon as I say press breaker, they don't look at the pressure. They look at the play of that they're doing there, and they just follow that same regiment that they did before. And guess what? We played this really hard team this weekend. And they tried pressing us twice, and we had 2 fast breaks and scored based off of that and never pressed us again, right? All of that training that we put into there allowed us to get to that point to be successful. But for me, when I accept something, it is all in for me because, I want to be successful at what I do, right? And that's the thing with like diets and shit like that, right? Like if you're looking at a diet, you're not going to be successful because the diet isn't the problem, right? It's your habits that are the problem. It's your mindset that is the problem. And it's creating those habits to support that. And if you want a diet because you have all these awesome habits and you want to support faster weight loss, and you want to try keto, cool, go for it. Because you already have those habits established and you want to play with things and mess with things, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if you're just looking at it at this as, well, what's the diet that I need to do? What's the resistance training program that I need to do? What's the equipment that I need to buy? What supplements do you take, right? You're not looking at this in the right perspective. You need to look at this as, I need to build habits that will make me successful in this. And then, supplements come in, and then, resistance training comes in. You don't even need supplements like creatine and protein and multivitamin. You're good. And some omega-3s, and so all of these things, start to support that habit that you've created, as Ben mentioned. And that's the most important piece of all of this is create those habits and then support those habits.
Yeah, I think a point to sort of touch on what you're saying there about, realizing that what the issue is and it's your habits and it's not because you're on the wrong diet or you're doing the wrong training plan or it's somebody else's fault. Once you have the balls to accept that you're the problem, then you can also realize that you're the solution. And having that sort of light bulb moment will literally change your life. It's maybe hard to accept, and I've sort of touched on it a couple of times when I've been on initial calls with clients, and they have this sort of like epiphany, like, shit, right, I'm the problem. It's not, it's not this, and it's not working. It's not because I'm busy. It is all those things, but that comes down to them and their time management and whatever else. So if you can sort of know that you're the problem, but you're also the solution, and you're going to get yourself out of it and then build the habits off the back of that. And I think probably a lot of stuff that you're saying about, basketball and even training and whatever else, everything comes down to reps, whether it's reps in the gym, whether it's reps and showing up every day, whether it's your steps, repetition. And it becomes second nature. Like going and getting your steps is easy now. It's just a part of your day-to-day life. The stuff that you do, you don't even think about. Do you know what I mean? Your alarm gets Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Your alarm goes off. You get up, you go to Orange Theory. You're not like, oh, I do. Shit, it's Monday. What the fuck's going on? Oh, you go to Orange Theory. You know you do that. Do you know what I mean? Because that's part of your life. Like you don't. It's a habit.
I set
now,
my alarm the exact same time. I wake up at the exact same time. I take my pre-workout 20 minutes before I go so I can use the bathroom so I'm not blowing up the toilets at the Orange Theory gym. So I have these exact habits that I've created throughout this whole process. That is what I do for it's just like brushing my teeth.
Yep. Yeah, and I think the sort of definition of a habit is this things that you do sort of subconsciously without even thinking. And brushing your teeth is a prime example. Like, and again, it comes down to my morning routine. I get up, I pee, I wear myself, I brush my teeth, then I come down, I'm not getting into it, but yeah. Well, I'm going to add 20 minutes of cardio into it now, so I don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, being able to build that and build upon it is also much easier, and not necessarily in the linchpin habits thing, but once you sort of establish one habit and one routine, adding something into that isn't as difficult. So it won't be that difficult for me to add in 20 minutes of cardio, because I'll just find a time slot for it, and it'll come after something and before something else, and it'll hopefully set me up for my day, or I'll be lying here asleep.
And what you're talking about here, Ben, is it's a big deal for you, right? And right now it's a habit that you don't like doing, right? Because you hate cardio. But that will change in 20 days. You know, that'll change in 30 days if you make it a habit. You're supporting everything else around your habit of wanting to be healthy and wanting to be, a better person and to help yourself, right? So that will change, as you go through that. You're not going to be dragging ass, for 6 months. That would be horrible, right? So your patterns of behavior, your mind does change in these things. I enjoy going to Orange Theory. I'll tell you, Orange Theory probably took me a little bit longer. One thing I liked about that was I could go with my wife, right? So it was good time with her, that we're working together for our own health goals and benefits and things like that. So I always really enjoyed that. And when she got me a gift card for Christmas, I'm like, this like all there is like girls there, and they're all just like running, and it's just like I just want to lift heavy stuff and throw it down, and and she's like, just go with me and entertain. And I'm like, fine. And I liked it, right? It was a fun, thing. I could see my heart rate. It kept it, broken up enough to where I was continuously, doing different things that were, like challenging, and, there's other guys there, so I can pretend to beat them, so, like it started to change very quickly. And, the big catalyst for me was that gift card. I think it was like a $150 gift card, which was like, 2 months or 3 months or whatever it ends up being, for a membership. And I'm like, I'm not going to waste the money, so I'm going to go for these 3 months. And afterwards, if I don't like it, I don't like it. But it became a habit, and it became one of those things where I enjoyed doing it. And now I don't even think about, yes, I was dragging ass this morning, but when I go to Orange Theory, it's not like I'm thinking of like, oh, I got to go to Orange Theory. It's like, oh, I got to go to Orange Theory, and I go there. I don't like dread getting on the treadmill. I know I have to go on the treadmill. I know that I hit the, the 5 button to start warming up. It's literally like brushing my teeth at this point in time. Same thing for lifting weights. Like I know what day it is. I know what they have to do. It's just one of those things where it changes as you build more time on it. I'll tell you, another story on the basketball side of the house for these kids. We made a rule, and this is very common in coaching, is if you miss practice, you don't get to play very much time on the games. Because if you're not putting the time in to better yourself, I'm not going to play the kids that aren't putting the time in. I'm going to play the kids that are putting the time in to better themselves, right? Now, obviously, that's kind of somebody coaching you in that way, right? And that's what you're obviously doing here, Ben, which is, hey, you need to get this in, you need to do this, you need, helping the motivation side. But it also, lets the kids know from a responsibility perspective that, if you put the work in, you're going to get better and you're going to play, right? And that's an important piece to know around habits, is that, the more that you do these habits and that you establish these habits, one, they absolutely get easier. One of the big questions I get is, I'm too sore. Well, guess what? If you work out more than 2 weeks at a time, if you consistently do resistance training, that DOMS, the soreness that you get, it goes away. Like I'm rarely ever sore, I'm tired, I'm weak, because my muscles are fatigued, but I'm not sore. I don't get the soreness where I can't walk up the stairs or, things like that. There are times where I can't walk up the stairs.
I cannot wait until I actually get to put you through a session, and that will change, I can guarantee.
I'm not,
The funny thing is, it'll be, you don't sound like you're looking forward to it, it'll probably actually be almost exactly 2 years since I coached 1-to-1, so I am looking forward to it. And it's funny because I see other coaches, and January's a fucking total shit show in the gym, so, the past couple of days have been an eye-opener, and I was very conscious, like I have made statements before about, not judging other people in the gym and whatever else, but if I'm looking at coaches, then they have a certain responsibility. Like the person who's paying them, number one, is paying them for your time, so at least look fucking interested in the person. But number two, they're literally trusting you with their health. So the total side note. But some people think that coaching should just be So some people think that coaching should just be you coming to the gym and being put through an hour of hell and unable to walk down the stairs, which. Yes and no, like you want to go and you want to work hard, but it's not just a case of drilling you into the ground for sake of drilling you into the ground. And I always take great satisfaction in people leaving feeling like they have really worked out. So
accomplished, worked out,
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking forward to you being unable to walk up the stairs.
I can't wait. Yeah, no, I fully believe it. You know, whenever I send you a video, I'm like, I know he's going to tell me to go slower. I'm like, fuck, it hurts when I go slower though. You know?
Yeah.
You know, the tempo is important, but no, those habits are, I think, you know, when we talk about habits, you know, it's not easy at first, and we're not saying, you know, it is. It absolutely is fighting how your brain is wired. You're reprogramming your brain, very similar to how you'd have to reprogram an application. It's not easy, right? It's complex. There are new neurons that need to be written, you know, and you know, fire in different locations and new pathways, you know, push through. So it's going to take some time for you to get through to these habits and to start to enjoy them and then support them. So for me, you know, when someone says, hey, you go all in, yeah, you're right. I make that my habit, right? You know, that is my habit of what I do, whether that's collecting whiskey, then I go all in and that makes my habit, right? Or if it's, you know, I'm at work and you know, devoting my time to that, you know, it's, or being a good family person, that's my habit, right? You know, I program myself to go all in on these things, and I do not accept things that I know I'm not going to be able to do 100%. You know, if it's something that is, you know, hey, Dave, I need you to, you know, come out to the speaking engagement. Sorry, I'm not traveling right now. It's going to impact, you know, everything else that I have from a habit perspective, you know? So, you know, I make those decisions now based off of what my habits are and to support those habits in a positive manner. So if something's going to impact my habits negatively, I won't do them. Now, I will say, you know, my bourbon habit has been very massively impacted by this, which is a good thing. I never had a problem with alcohol, but I like collecting it. And so I stopped collecting alcohol and I'm collecting gym equipment now. So, you know, hobbies and habits can also intermix as well. And you can kind of fade away on the hobby side of the bourbon stuff. I still got a lot of great bourbon, but and we're going to be sharing some of that when you come over here.
At least now you're collecting it and not drinking it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
That's
an
right.
actual collection now and you're not just going through it. Because one of my...
It actually is a collection. Yeah.
Yeah. And I might totally fuck this up, but one of the things that Andrew Huberman talked about in the podcast today was limbic friction. And this is sort of what I'm thinking about that I'm going to face whenever it comes to the cardio. Because I don't enjoy it. And do you know what? Whether I do or do not enjoy it, and whether that's just something I've told myself over the years, is yet to be seen. But in my head, I'm not going to enjoy it. And I already have that sense of like friction as I don't want to do it, and it's going to be hard, and blah, 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 blah. But like you, I enjoy going all in, because I don't think there's any point in just half-assing things. Like, always use your full ass. But another thing that I know about myself is I will become addicted to the feeling that it gives me, and I will become addicted to the wanting to become better. And that is what I'm most excited for about it. Yes, it's going to be shit. Yes, it's going to be tough. Yes, I'm not going to want to do it. Yes, I'm going to hate it whenever I get on it at first. But I know that it puts me in a position as to something of, I can achieve this, I can get better at this, I can overcome my I hate cardio thing. And obviously it's something that's going to give me a better quality of life as well, on top of all that.
Absolutely. I mean, the cardiovascular benefits, the health benefits of cardio, it's you know, it's unmirrored. You know, it's going to let you live longer and feel better about yourself too, with energy, everything else that goes along with it. So I'm a huge advocate of cardio. I like cardio. Let me rephrase it. No one likes. Well, there are people that actually like cardio. I don't like cardio, but I enjoy the benefits of cardio. You like the
feeling of it. It's not actually liking actually doing it, but afterwards you like the feeling of it. So
Correct.
It's that dopamine hit, which is the effect. Yeah.
100%. And you know, it's a satisfaction too of, you know, hey, I put the work in to go and do this, right? You know, I mean, afterwards you're high-fiving, my wife and I say, good job, great job, you know, give her a hug or whatever. We're all sweaty, so it's the accomplishment of doing something like that. And then knowing that it's supporting that habit of living longer, being there for my family, growing my muscles, what I want to accomplish, with all those. So it's setting those habits in to be able to go and do it.
Yeah, I think an actual very valid point to note is I tweeted yesterday about why do you work out? And obviously got a lot of, number one, hilarious responses. But people who, you know, have maybe been in a position before where they've been hospitalized, they've been sick for ages, or their body just hasn't been functioning, and now they can do those things. And literally the reason that they work out is because they can. So, I mean, even, you know, being in a privileged enough position that I can go and work out, and you can go and work out, and I can do cardio if I want to, sort of taking that for granted. Like, you know, we are much more privileged than, you know, other people who actually physically can't do it. So another reason to do it is because you physically can.
Well, that's why I did a tweet recently, and I said, listen, you don't need an expensive gym to do what we're doing here, right? And I wanted to make sure that I was clear with that. Like this, I've obviously invested a lot in my health and everything else, and I have a crazy gym, and that's because it's fun. It's a hobby.
Like to go all in.
I like to go all in, right? And I have, the financial flexibility to be able to do that, right? And I know not everybody does, right? And there's different, brackets of, where you come from, where you are, where you're at in life, younger, when I was in my 20s, I definitely couldn't get a gym like that, or even my 30s, late 30s now I can, I guess. I'm getting old, but it's one of those things where, you don't need to spend a substantial amount, but I made sure I put that out there because I don't want people to feel like, you have to have a rack and all this other stuff. Literally, listen, Planet Fitness, we rip on it sometimes just because of its mentality, but it's like $20 a month, if that, and you get, a full gym that has everything that you could ever possibly want in it. It's just a matter of going there. Or if you want to build your own gym, a bench with some dumbbells literally gets you 90% of the way.
Yeah.
So it's those things that you can make those changes and you don't have to like go on. And that's one last thing I want to hit on really fast is that someone had mentioned, they were struggling and they wanted to kickstart, going into 2022 to be successful. And I said, hey, check out the podcast. And he's like, I never listened to the podcast because, I thought it was going to be too advanced and it was only for advanced users. I'm like, listen, no, this is for everybody. Like, whether you're starting off, and that's really who needs the most help. The advanced users typically don't need the most help. What are we going to tell an advanced user that is already in their habits? Hey, you should probably take this supplement or this whatever. But it's the folks that are struggling, that have failed throughout their lives, or are at a spot where they're just plateauing and they need to push past that. That's who we're here for, right? Is everybody there? I think again, building those habits and doing those small steps make a big difference in the long term effect of everything.
Yeah, and I actually saw, I think it was on Twitter that the guy said he thought it was just for high performers, and I want this to be for everybody, and it's not even just a case of the people who are advanced won't get something from it. Like, I learn every day from having conversations with you, from being in the chat. Like, people are absorbing different amounts of information and sharing them, so there's always that sort of, whether you learn something new or somebody challenges something you already believe. Like, I'm not a person in any way, shape or form that thinks that I know it all. Never will I claim to be, and I'm always open to changing my way of thinking, unless you're going to talk to me about keto. Then I'm happy enough.
Those raspberry ketones where it's at, man.
I actually think, so I pulled up our email, and diets have lived to see another week, potentially next week, that we will touch on that. And it's funny that of the top 500 key fitness words searched on Google, how to cancel my Planet Fitness membership was number two. But yes, one thing that I want to sort of touch on what you're saying about you don't need an expensive gym to do that. Like, obviously, whenever I'm having initial calls with people are like, what equipment do I need to have or what do I need to get? And I'm like, well, what do you have at the minute? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, right, well, we'll just start with that, because there's no point in you having to invest in X, Y, and Z, and we can make progress with whatever it is you had the past 2 years. Yeah. When I first
showed you my equipment, you're like,
and then I told you to get a kettlebell and you build a gym out the back. Yeah. But yes, it is. We will just start, and then we will see what we need to add. And if it is a case of we add something every so often, then that's absolutely fine. I think the past 2 years of Global Shit Show have allowed many coaches, not just me, to get quite creative in their coaching and their deliverables, because it was easy when everybody was in a gym, because it was like, oh yeah, well, everybody has the same equipment, that's fine. And then all of a sudden, when everything went into the first lockdown, people are like, well, I've got this one kettlebell, and I think I have a dumbbell, and then I think my auntie's got this, and if I bring all this together and I have an inflatable palm tree, what can we do? And I'm like, okay, right, we'll make it work. So we've had this sort of adapt. So anybody who comes to me, I'm like, look, we'll just start with whatever it is you have, and even if it is just a set of resistance bands, or if you do have a bench and some dumbbells, like, you can do a lot of shit with that. And then if it does come down the line that you want to invest and get more stuff, then we can absolutely do that. So don't think you need X, Y, and Z to start to change. Like, you can do it with whatever you have.
Yep.
I'm not going to be one of those tin of beans people, though. Like, I did see a lot of that at the start lockdown. Go and get yourself 2 tins of beans and we're going to work out. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
What's tins and beans?
Like a can of beans, I guess.
Okay.
Like canned food. like
Yeah.
that. So people were doing workouts with like cans of beans on Instagram and fucking TikTok and shit at the start of the first lockdown. It was crazy. Honestly, the world went a bit mad.
Boy, hey, whatever. I hear, like if you're looking for some quick stuff, the X3 bar is relatively inexpensive. It's a resistance band bar. You have TRX systems, which are using body weight, which you go into the wall, doesn't take up a lot of space. There's so many small things that you can just incorporate and get that literally gets you full-fledged functionality of a gym. Using your own body weight is one thing. I've seen people that are totally jacked as hell, just using their own body weight. I've seen, just a lot of small things that can make big differences in your routines, based on, where your financial situations are or whether or not. So, know that you don't have to, when you go all in, doesn't mean that you have to go and buy a bench and a rack and spend, thousands of dollars on equipment. That is not what we're advocating for here. You can do it just by making these small changes. And then again, resistance training is very important, but those habits come when you're starting to build your solidified, pillar habits, whatever Huberman called them. And then supporting them with
habits.
Linchpin habits. That's
habits.
it, right?
Yeah.
That was it, man. That was good, man. That hour flew by quick, by the way. My gosh.
I definitely, like we said at the start, we have so many topics to talk about, and we got one done.
We got one done.
Next week we can go through the top 10 most searched diets of 2021, because I think that would be good fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna prepare for that, because it's quite a
spicy
interesting
one.
list. It's
gonna be a spicy podcast.
Yeah. I think we need to touch on nutrition again anyway. So next week we'll do that.
Yeah,
Nutrition
nutrition
is another week.
We're all going to be talking about how keto is going to change your life and make it for the better, right?
Yes. Maybe I'll even try keto myself. No, I'm not going to do that.
No, me neither. I was like, what? Right, nah, I'm good.
Okay, right. Thanks everybody for listening. As always, if you're not in the Discord, please do find yourself in there anywhere on social media at WeHackHealth, and I'll catch you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Thanks.